Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and today we're going to be talking about a Batman comic with art by Colan and Klaus Jansen, and it stinks! What's up everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. Today we're going to be taking a look inside Batman 344. Why? Because I was doing some work at the comic shop. I came across this issue. I see the Joe Kubert cover. I get interested. I take a look inside. And what do I see? I see a Batman book from 1981. It's got a date here of February 82. So this came out around like Christmas time, probably, maybe November. It is dealing with an election going on in the story. But art by Colan and Klaus Jansen. One of my favorite inkers, one of my favorite pencilers, and I cannot for the life of me think of anything where I've seen them do work together. So I got very excited and I grabbed it up and I brought it here to read and talk to you. It says, "The story you've been waiting for, Monster My Sweet, a full-length epic tale." I was like, cool, a self-contained, one-and-done Batman story from the year I was born, 1981. With artwork by Colan and Klaus Jansen. I am all in, even though I knew that at this time, DC Comics, they weren't doing very good. There was some stuff that was coming out. I think that at this time, I guess Wolfman and Perez are doing Teen Titans. I'm sure there's other stuff, but as a whole, DC was at a low point creatively and financially at this time. There were even rumblings where Marvel was going to take over DC at some point. So I don't think I was expecting much on the story, but I definitely was let down by this comic. Now it's written by Gerry Conway. Ben Oda is the letterer. Dick Giordano is the editor. And I was let down by this book, y'all. First of all, the story is so stupid, right? So it says it's a 27-page epic tale, but it picks up directly, I guess, from the events of the last issue, but it does immediately let us know what's going on. There is some councilman who's running for mayor. The election's about to happen. He's claiming he knows Batman's secret identity, and he's about to reveal it. So you've got Batman running through, dealing with that. Meanwhile, Poison Ivy is somehow hypnotizing the board of the Wayne Foundation and trying to get all of the money away from it. Batman's stressed out over that. He's stressed out over the possible identity reveal by the councilman. And that's basically the gist of this movie. It's stuff that seems like it's already been set up, but it does all kind of wrap up here in this one issue. But it's all dull and it's boring. And notice it says artist Colan, Klaus Jansen. Doesn't credit one or the other. So probably what happened was that Colan may have been doing some rough layouts. Klaus Jansen may have been doing the finishing, because there's definitely more Klaus on the page. There's certain things, like certain shapes of the figure you can tell are Colan, but I feel more of the Klaus energy. In the early pages, there's a little bit more I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's odd to see. There's some parts of Colan that come through, a lot of parts of Jansen that come through, obviously him being the finisher. There are certain things that work, like this Poison Ivy looks fine. Now the lines in here are pretty heavy printed. There's a lot of screen tone usage that, as this issue progresses, gets a bit muddy and kind of in the way of things. It actually starts off decently enough. It does. There's like a little bit of a fluidity, a rubber nature to some of the figures that you're used to with Colan. And Klaus Jansen, I was really interested to see what he was going to do. Colan is known as not necessarily a loose penciler, but the way that he would do his he would do value in pencil. So as an inker, how do you do that? Well, Klaus, one of my favorite things about his work is this like fine line and rough texture that he uses. And here it just kind of gets lost. Now, I wouldn't consider Colan a gritty or a super rough kind of artist, even though his pencils could almost have the appearance of it. It's almost very sweeping and romantic, but dark. And I'm mostly familiar with his Tomb of Dracula stuff, in particular some Iron Man stuff, but he's got like this fluidity to the movement that gets lost here with Klaus's kind of stiff and rigid. Because just like I wouldn't say that Gene Colan's artwork is stiff or rigid, you know, I wouldn't say that Klaus Jansen's inks are fluid and subtle. I think they very much are rough and raw, and I think they work better on a blockier, edgier, more square, more straight line kind of artist like a John Romita Jr. or even a Frank Miller. This Batman looks fine here. So, okay, so the board gives all the money from the Wayne Foundation to Poison Ivy because they're all hypnotized. They can't talk shit about it or something. So he decides he's just going to stalk Poison Ivy. So in Poison Ivy, this is rather mundane. This is not the Poison Ivy that we know today with this grand environmental cause and going between the line of good and bad. She's just out there trying to get money, and Batman's just stalking her. He shows up and she starts freaking out. Cool Hostess cupcake ad was starring the Flash there. So everywhere she goes, Batman's there. Is no wonder DC books aren't doing well. This is your Batman comic. You got Gene Colan, you got Klaus Jansen, and you just got Batman just standing there stalking Poison Ivy to kind of like guilt her or something into, I don't know. And then you got this subplot. Somebody's been taking photos of Bruce Wayne. You think it's connected to the identity reveal with the councilman, but it's not. It's the return of Vicky Vale, who has not been seen since Detective 320, in fact. Vicky Vale comes back. It sets up a little bit of a something. See, right there, there's some interesting work with Klaus Jansen on Gene Colan. One of the things I'm noticing that he's trying to do here, I guess to help out with the value, is he's using screen tone. But screen tone, it's interesting. Some things, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There are pages in here, there are moments where it doesn't work. A bit right here where Bruce is driving his car. He's trying to get, I guess, is he going to the press conference or something? This dude decides, hey, sucker, eat my dust. He tries to, like, it's just a nice comedic moment. He tries to race the Batmobile basically on the street because it goes into the tunnel and it comes out as the Batmobile. And he's like, mama. Anyway, that don't sound like no Rolls engine. So dark in this tunnel, can't see. But something tells me I've been, mama. Where'd he come from? Shoot. Okay. Interesting little bit. There are moments here. Very, very Klaus. This page feels very Klaus Jansen. These panels feel very Gene Colan. It doesn't quite work for me. It doesn't work for me together. It doesn't help that this story is pretty silly. So the councilman reveals that that Batman is actually this mob boss, Big Jack Johnson, who's the mob boss that at the beginning of this story, Poison Ivy was trying to shake down right here. That's her trying to shake down this dude. So I don't know. These are just subplots. It's Gerry Conway. It's the early 80s, late 70s. This is just how they were writing these comics. And no wonder. No wonder. I mean, that's why, like, Chris Claremont and Walt Simonson and Frank Miller meant so much at Marvel Comics during this era, is because this is the state of comics. This is kind of mediocre. It's kind of boring. Batman's, like, barely doing anything cool. He's swinging there, but it's like, for what? And it's kind of like cluttered pages, loose pages. It feels like this is just kind of phoned in work from all involved. And then you get to this part. This is where some of the screen tone is not working for me. It's not providing the right value. There's seen so much better usage of this. So Batman, after his identity is revealed as this mob boss, he runs to find Poison Ivy. Have we gotten to this bit yet where someone shows up to the Wayne Foundation, to the penthouse? I guess Batman's living in a penthouse at this time. Yeah, someone shows up and Alfred's like, who is you? Who is it? Well, it's pretty obvious. But anyway, this is some screen tone. Very, very odd. It's not printing right. And then you can clearly see the square there of the different panel. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And then he gets to Poison Ivy and her henchman. She's turned into this plant monster. This could be gnarly. You see, this is one where I think you can see some Colanisms. You can see some Jansenisms. But that right there seems more like Klaus Jansen. But I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I thought I would like this better artistically. honestly. I feel kind of let down. I mean, it's okay. It's all right, but it definitely ain't Tomb of Dracula, and it definitely ain't Klaus Jansen inking Miller, or hell, even Jim Lee in that issue of War Journal, or John Romita Jr., which is, I mean, the more I think about it, the more I do believe that John Romita Jr. might be, Klaus Jansen might be my favorite inker on John Romita Jr., but he eventually convinces this monster guy, and Batman, I mean, Robin shows up, and it was Robin who showed up at the Wayne penthouse. Robin shows up to help. Here you get a little bit of, you can tell that's like Nolan, or Colan, my bad, Gene Colan, and then a lot of Klausisms. It's not working quite for me. Like, I don't like the screen, I love screen tone. I don't like it on Gene Colan. I really don't. That Robin figure's wild. But I like it. But he convinces this monster that Poison Ivy's done terrible things. She turns on him and tells the police that she hypnotized the Wayne Foundation board, so now they're going to get their money back. Wrapping that up, Robin shows up. He's been on the road for a while. He says he's learned a lot. We need to be friends again. I need your friendship. We're a team no matter what happens. I might be back to stay. And then some reporter finds out that the photo of Batman unmasking and him being the mob boss has been faked, so it wraps it up real quick. Story is dumb. Story is really dumb and boring. There are moments where it works for me, but I honestly, and maybe there are other examples out there that are better than this, but I am not a fan of Klaus Jansen inking Gene Colan, and I'm rather surprised by that. I don't know. I thought the book was kind of dull, even artistically. Even for a cover, that's not the best Joe Kubert work we've seen. I don't know. DC was struggling at this time, and it feels like it's obvious why. I don't know. If they were struggling financially, they couldn't have had great page rates. This art may have been rushed, may have been pushed through. I have no idea the background of this. If you know, let me know. If you know other things that Klaus Jansen has worked on of Gene Colan's that you think is good, let me know, please, because to me it sounds like a matchup that should work, but it's one for me that just doesn't. Anyway, that's what I thought about it. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop, boom.